Welcome to the next episode of Iowa Girls Wrestling Stories podcast. Tonight features someone who has started two high school programs, presently the head coach at Pella, an AA national team coach, IWCOA officer, father of two Energizer Bunny boys, a husband, and all around great guy. Friend of mine, Adam Hale. How you doing tonight, Adam?
Good, Troy. How about you?
I can't can't complain. Well, I could, but nobody will care. So
Nobody listens.
So why don't you, introduce yourself a little bit? I said you're a family guy, you got a couple of kids and you're a husband. Tell us about the family.
Yeah, so my wife's name is Jacqueline. We've been married for 12 years. We met at Central College on a missions trip to Mexico, stopped at a gas station in a long 15 passenger van ride. Um, and when we got back into the vans, our chaplain said, sit by somebody you haven't met before. So I picked the prettiest girl to sit next to, and that's kind of where we met, and then got to know each other on the trip, and then after ended up married. Yeah, lived in Pella the whole time, whether I was teaching, coaching in Newton or here. She works at our church. And then, yeah, like you said, we've got two boys. Nolan's in first grade, Case is in preschool. Both really excited to be in school, both getting into the whole sports thing. They did soccer this fall, and that was a lot of fun. And we don't push wrestling a whole lot because I don't want it to be my thing. I want it to be their thing. So, but they hear about it from friends at school that it's starting up. And so Nolan and Case both the other day said, can we do that? So they went to their first youth practice of the season, whatever it was, Thursday night, burned some energy off. And Coach Jay Pike, the boys coach, he came over and was talking to us, and he said, "Hey, I think K through 12, your youngest has the most energy out of anybody in our entire program." I said, "Yeah, that's why he's here. Please help us channel it."
Yes,
Because
that would be great.
yeah. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Yeah,
No, that's really fun. So yeah, I had two daughters, and at the time, girls wrestling really wasn't a big deal, so I also didn't push it. But you're
yep,
about ready to get into a crazy amount of work in life right now because you're going to have kids in sports, you're coaching, and wrestling season, as far as I can figure out, doesn't actually end ever.
no,
So yeah, you're in for quite a ride here in the next few years. I'm guessing. So
I think so too. Yeah, it'll all be fun. It'll just be all about finding that good way to balance everything. So
yeah.
living in, I guess.
So I heard about this coach. I've been in with AAU for a while, and I had some girls, and I've been doing those Grandview practices, and these girls, a Jessie and Ella and an Emma, were coming to these practices, and they kept talking about Coach Hale and Coach Hale, and I had no idea who Coach Hale was, but you started the girls program at Newton. And I knew from the girls that you had, Jessie Hutchinson, Ella Macklin, and Emma Lopez, that man, this guy knows wrestling for one, but he's a pretty good guy because I mean these girls are awesome. What was starting the program at Newton and the experience you had at Newton with these girls, what was it like?
Yeah, well, we first had three girls. I think it was three girls on the team when I was an assistant there, and they wrestled at the first IWCOA state tournament, and then I took over as head coach 2020, like right as COVID hit is when I got hired for that, and so we had like Grace Brown was returning
Oh
for
yes,
one
I've
more
heard.
year. Yeah, and she had placed third at that IWCOA, and then she had done I don't know if it was that year or the next year she did Disney with you guys, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, and then Grace was awesome at. I just kind of said, Grace, how do you want to set this thing up? How do you want to rock and roll? And she kind of took charge on it, and I just gave her the boost when she needed it. And but yeah, she was a good energy to have and a good role model to have to base things off of with what she had already accomplished. Yeah, and from there it just kind of took off. And I was fortunate. I taught sixth grade reading and social studies at the time, and so I had people like Jesse and Emma and that whole crew in class. And so then that's about the time that they were getting to high school um, that I got the head job, and so I was able to go back to some of the old favorites you had in class and say, "You ever thought about wrestling?" And Jessie was the really fun one in terms of the recruiting side of things. She was fun on the mat too, but she was playing basketball at the time, and we had kind of said, well, "You're strong. You're putting up ridiculous numbers in the weight room. What do you think about coming and trying wrestling?" And she's like, "Well, could I do both? Could I do basketball and wrestle?" I said, well, I'm not going to be the one to stop you. So yeah, absolutely. You can do both. And she worked it out with the coach, the basketball coach, and he was great about it. And we had set up a schedule and everything. She came to a wrestling practice. We had a lift afterwards, and she had to take off because she was supposed to go to basketball for the rest of the day. And so I said, thanks for coming. Thanks for trying us out. Either way is great. Just appreciate you giving us a try. And she came back a little bit later and she told me, she's like, I'm just going to do one sport. I said, yeah, no problem. No problem at all. Wrestling's tough. I get it. Thank you again for giving us a try. She's like, no, like, I'm going to wrestle. I was like, oh, one day we sold you one. That's pretty good. So yeah. So then we just had a good group. I think we had, what do we have that next year? I think we had 3 that wrestled at IWCOA. And then the year after that is when it really took off. And I think we had 10 maybe that wrestled there. So
Yeah,
it was
that's
fun to
awesome.
see that, all the girls come through.
Yeah, I feel bad. I forgot about Grace. Grace is awesome. Yeah, she was so much fun to have on that trip, and she just she was almost a different person from when I saw her at state to the time she went to Florida with us. I bet she lost 40 pounds.
She did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was one of the things when she got into wrestling, she really started falling in love with it. And so then we had that kind of tough conversation. Like, if you want to go next level, this is part of the goal, is getting down to that weight class. And so she put in a ton of work, and she lost a lot during a lot of weight that senior season. She started working her way down and was really chipping away. And then I didn't see her from like graduation until our home tournament in December. And she walked up and she was down to weight, and I was like tearing up and everything. I was so
yeah.
proud of her, all the work that she put in. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
She's great.
just a neat kid. And then, Jessie might be one of my favorite people in the world just because her energy is so positive and so much
Yeah.
fun. And then she's been on trips with me. I've been to North Carolina with her. I've been to Florida with her twice. Just a neat kid. I talk to her every once in a while, still
Yep.
send a
Yep.
text here and there to see how she's doing.
Yep.
Ella, she ran into some injury issues, I think, the last couple of years, but just another super positive person,
Super
and then
sweet.
and then Emma, man, that girl, you know, just just fun. I mean, and then she came up to BV. That didn't work out for her, but I follow her online and stuff, and it looks like she's doing fantastic up at Northwestern.
Yeah.
And
And she's getting ready to do some mission stuff too. So
yeah,
she's
so
kind of
just
found her road there. So it's been good.
yeah, Newton was that was you just had a great group of girls, and I bet it was just really fun to coach them. I bet.
Oh, it's a ton of fun. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I miss those girls. I still make it a point to open up the room, any of our off-season stuff, try to send those invites out and try
yeah,
to do the shared practices still. So selfishly, so I can see them, but also we get those good workout partners too.
yeah,
But
for sure. That's great. So, you told me, and I don't know because I don't research, and you said you didn't really have a very notable high school or college career or anything, but that's okay because neither did I.
yeah.
But you said you had some great coaches and you had some great partners. And so, what are some of the things that you took from your high school and your college days? Because that's what really makes us coaches.
Yeah, I think it goes back to even just like youth stuff. I was fortunate to have good coaches there with Dave Ryan and Scott Craig that really kind of spearheaded that. And then all the dads, including my own, that was in that room. And just being really good about teaching us the fundamentals and kind of keeping that the focus and teaching us that, you go wrestle hard and you work your tail off and you work to improve. And so those were good lessons. My middle school coach, Bill Thompson, he was also my 5th grade teacher. And he's one of the guys that I probably looked up to most in life, just overall. You have those people that as a teacher, I look up to him, as a coach, I look up to him. He was always in there doing workouts with us. Um, Always joking around and singing too to keep things light, but pushing us really, really hard. And yeah, he really took it to the next level with how hard we need to work and setting that tone. But he did it by example too. And then I got to high school and got to wrestle for Vance Light, who's in the Hall of Fame and part of the legendary Light family out of Lisbon. So just gaining more technique from him is just a great experience. And Justin Dix, so Libby's dad,
Yeah.
was an assistant coach, and he was always in my corner, and I think he lost a team point probably every year in the corner of my match. So I was either really frustrating to coach or got a lot of bad calls against me. I don't know, but he always had my back at least and stood up for me, so that was good. And then Aaron Truitt was another one. he brought just a different note to our wrestling room in Mount Vernon, I think, where he lightened everything up. He's always singing whatever song was on. I remember him saying Flava Flav a lot as he's running and doing warm ups and all that stuff, and just a lot of good energy and showing us that we can still have fun while we're working our tails off and making state duels and all that. So, and then yeah, great partners all the way. Like Jacob Bryan was like a 3-time placer and a finalist or whatever, and he was my partner from basically the day I started until he outgrew me our junior year. So that was really good. And then a lot of other guys around my weight. So yeah, really, really good experiences with people. Thankful for all the coaches that poured into me and the technique I picked up here and the person-to-person interaction stuff that I picked up from these people and just being able to bring it all together.
Yeah, that's really neat to have that. You had a really great experience all the way through, and the foundation was there. And you can just tell with the girls that you coach, they have a very good foundation. So, you brought some good lessons along with that.
Thanks.
You know, uh, you then made the decision, you were teaching and coaching in Newton, but you've come down to Pella. You back home. Basically, you went to college at Central, right?
Yep.
And that's where your wife said it was living in Pella. You were living with her in Pella, I guess, at the same time.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's probably you had the same home. But so you
we
made the
did.
decision to come to Pella to teach. What went into that? Because that had to be hard to walk out of that room.
Man, it was so hard. Yeah, and I just finished up my second year of being head coach there, and um, my buddy and I that were coaching there, we thought that we were just starting to turn the corner with the direction we were wanting to take things. That the foundation that we wanted to lay had kind of been laid, and we're ready for the next thing. We invested a lot into kind of rebooting the youth club there, and uh, and then I got a well, it was our neighbor that they teach here in Pella, and they're like, "Hey, you saw that there's a PE job opening up here, right?" I said, "I did." And then somebody else reached out and said, "Well, there's going to be a wrestling job opening up too." I said, "Okay," and still wasn't sold on it because I still loved what I was doing and loved all the people in Newton. And then I ran into a guy that works for Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and he goes, "Hey, Pella's FCA's kind of fizzled out. Would love to have somebody kind of reboot that." And I was like, "Well, that's like the three things
Yep.
outside of like my family that I'm most passionate about, and I'd be closer to my family. So I at least gotta think about this." And then Coach Van Clay, the old Central coach, called me and said that he'd put a letter of recommendation in for me already. So I thought, well, I should maybe apply for the job actually. And so I applied, got it, got offered it, whatever, and then just really wrestled with it. Talked to my dad about it because I just felt like there's a lot of stuff with like my faith and everything that I was starting to see some fruit from that in Newton as well. And so just the difficulty of leaving all that. So I was talking to my dad for some guidance because he's got good faith, good wisdom. And he said, well, you gotta raise your boys first, and you've got to teach them faith first and raise them to be disciples and all that stuff too. So I was like, that's a pretty good point, and it's hard to do when I'm 40 minutes away and I'm leaving when they're in bed and getting back just before bed. So
Yeah.
yeah, ultimately made the decision to come down and broke down crying, I think, in front of the team when I made the announcement, because that was the other weird timing thing. It was right before girls state. Was it right before or right after girls state that year, the IWCOA tournament,
Uh,
that I found out, in our superintendent, I asked him if we could wait until the end of the season at least. He said no, because they wanted to get the hiring process going. So I had to do it kind of not the perfect timing, but so then I was more tears and everything. But
yeah.
yeah,
That's
the extra family time's been good.
Yeah, that is good. That is great. I drive 40 minutes to practice too, and it really does take a lot of time out of your day. By the time you travel
Yes.
there, you're probably first one there, last one to leave. That type of thing. So yeah, it's a lot of time. So I understand, the move, but yeah, it had to be definitely a difficult one. Um, Something that you told me that and actually I saw it on Pin Doctors, because
Yeah.
you put that in there. Pella is just would have never guessed it, but Pella may have had the very first female wrestler that had competition,
Yeah.
Sherry Whitaker, and you haven't met her yet. You've reached out and tried to
I
find
have.
her.
Yeah. I reached out on Facebook. I work with a lady that is a family friend. Um, and so she helped me make sure it was like the right profile that I was going to send a message to, cold call, and I just haven't heard anything back from her. But yeah, it was my assistant coach, David Bushka, was flipping through. He's the head girls tennis coach. They just won a state title this past spring, but he was flipping through old yearbooks trying to find tennis records. And then he sends me a picture of the yearbook, and it says 1976 Sherry Whitaker. And the note there is that she was the first girl to win a varsity letter in a male sport in Pella.
Yeah.
But you had tipped me off to was
Trisha
it Trisha
Anderson.
Anderson?
I
Yeah,
actually I actually messaged with her tonight and said,
yeah,
"Have you heard of Sherry?" And she goes, "No, I haven't. I sent when I was she wrote a book on the history of girls wrestling prior to sanctioning, and
yep,
she had reached out to every AD in the state, and she said, "Well, I'm guessing that either they were new and didn't know,
right,
or at the time the sport wasn't sanctioned and didn't really care. One of the
right,
two." So her
yep,
earliest would have been Anita Bibbs from Davenport, and that would have been 81, I believe, 81,
yeah,
82, somewhere in there. So yeah, Sherry might be the first competition. I think there was 1971, there was a group of girls, I can't remember the town, Keokuk possibly, that had 30 girls that in the gym class they wrestled, and they had formed a
yes,
team, but then it was disbanded almost instantly by the school board. So
yep, yeah. I
kind of
read
cool.
that or something about that in her book too, because
Yeah.
yeah, I was trying to figure out, and so I had reached out to her there. She's like, no, I think that's the earliest, and then uh, yeah, when Pin Doctors posted something, post like share your tidbits. I shared that one. I was like, if you could share it out and just see, does anybody know of anybody earlier? And so far, I just went through the comments earlier before this, and I hadn't seen anybody else pop up there. So as far as anybody's been able to track down so far, I think she
Yeah.
started it. So that's
And
kind of cool.
like I said, I did message with Trisha just a little bit tonight, and she's talking about writing a second edition since
Nice.
sanctioning and stuff, and then going back and doing some more research. And it's kind of
Cool.
neat. I mean, I've known her for a long time. Her daughter Allie was a girl at Cedar Rapids Kennedy, and actually at that very first IWCOA, even though I was not officially her coach, I coached her and had done all that. So I've known the family since she's been a freshman, and she'll graduate this year at Grandview and stuff.
Oh,
So,
nice.
so
Nice.
kind of cool.
It
Um,
is.
yeah, I mean, that is really cool. You had another really cool experience as a coach this about a week ago.
Yeah.
Uh, Emily Spurgeon versus Jesse Hutchinson. And that had to be probably probably one of the most heartwarming matches and one of the hardest matches to even deal with. Tell me about dealing with that, having two girls that graduated wrestling a college match on different teams.
Yeah, that was yeah, like you said, proud, heartwarming, nerve-wracking, like all those things kind of rolled into one, but mostly just proud. It was Emily had told me she was going to go 160, and I had seen all the teams listed at the Luther Hill invite at Simpson there, and Jesse's team was listed. And so I text Jesse. I said, "Are you going to be at this thing? Because I'll make the trip up." She said, "Well, if I make weight." I said, "Well, what are you going?" She said, 160. And so in the back of my head, I'm like, "Oh, that'd be kind of, that'd be, but who knows how big the brackets are, how they shake out, how everything falls." And then I'm on my way to the tournament, driving up, and within 30 seconds of each other, I got a text from Jesse and a text from Emily saying, "Oh my gosh, we have a first round bye," and then we wrestle each other. And so I was like, "This is what are they, like? It's just crazy." And so then the match is getting closer and closer, and we make sure that we get there's kind of a track above there because there's that the Blake Field House in Indianola. So we
Mhm.
got right above and got to watch, and it was just a really cool moment. They've just each taken some different paths to get on the mat for college wrestling and overcome some different things. And so it's just really cool to see them get to that point and go to that next level, and to be able to point my girls now to those girls that have gone before and just see what they've done, and then get to share the video and tell my family all about it. And so it's just a really cool experience.
Yeah, that probably doesn't happen for girls wrestling. That probably hasn't happened very many times yet. You might be another first from Pella, So that's a really cool experience. That is. I've had some of my girls, that I've coached go to college and wrestle and have some success so far. So it's always a proud moment. But yeah, I was sitting there thinking, well, you're going to be proud of one of them, but you're going to have to console the other one. And how is this? It could happen at the same time. You might be giving a hug on both sides. Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, good job. That might be a really hard thing to do, but no, I'm sure that, and I'm sure the girls know each other too a little bit. And I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure everything went awesome on that. You've really in the last few years with all your stuff, and actually you brought something up, and I wanted to make sure we mentioned this. I was down at the clinic you put on this year with Felicity Taylor and Megan Black, which was fantastic clinic and
Thank
just
you.
cool to be part of that. Um, but then during the break, they had FCA, and you said you're a
Yeah.
big part of the FCA, and that's something that you don't hear a lot about. I mean, I know when my brother was in high school, he was big in FCA. I don't recall FCA being a real big thing when I was in high school, but maybe it's starting to make a little bit of a comeback. What Tell us about FCA in your school, and maybe if anybody's interested in get it going in their schools.
Yeah, yeah. Funny enough, I saw a post earlier today that so the day we're recording, November 10, is the 70th birthday of FCA. So it's kind of a funny
Oh,
thing. Um, I got my first exposure to it because my parents helped run a huddle, which is just what FCA calls their meetings or whatever. And so as like a 4-year-old, I was getting drug along to different FCA state events and all that. And then as I got older, I got plugged into our high school's FCA and was on the leadership for that. And that was actually a big reason that I ended up at Central. Central College hosts an FCA all sports camp. And so I came here for wrestling, and it's mixed sports with church. And so for me, it was like just perfect, you know. And I met Matt Deal here. And he's just a really energetic guy and a good guy, solid Christian, and he's on the coaching staff here at Central. So add him to the list of good influences I've had with wrestling. He's actually my neighbor now too, so it's kind of funny how things work. But that was a big reason I ended up here at Central, and then did FCA there as well. Helped with FCA at Newton, and then kind of helped reboot it with a group of students and a couple other adults here in Pella. So yeah, like I mentioned, it's sports mixed with church, and different schools do it different ways. We set it up that we meet one large group meeting a month where anybody's welcome, whether you're a Christian or an athlete or not. We usually have a guest speaker come in, share a little bit about their faith and testimony, usually a little food to share, and then just some hangout time playing games or some athletic endeavor of some sort, you know. And then our Pella FCA does 2 Bible studies a month, one in the morning and one over the lunch period. And then they also have something called character coaches, which is basically like a team chaplain that they'll provide for you. And so when I was in Newton, I had Nan Veach and Trenton McNeil. So I had one girl and one guy to kind of hit both sides of the team there. And that was really great. And so the lady that ran the FCA thing at our clinic, that was Nan. And
uh-huh.
Brooklyn Hermel from she's a Grandview wrestler this year, and
Yes.
so they came down and ran that. And I had met, or they were also at FCA camp because I'm on the coaching side of the FCA camp that I attended now. So I met Brooklyn there, knew Nan from way back, and I said, "Hey, we've got this opportunity. We got kind of a long intermission. Would you guys want to do something?" And they jumped on it, and yeah, I thought it worked out pretty well. It was a nice little group that was gathered there talking faith. So pretty
Yeah,
good.
that was it is. It's it's a nice thing. And a lot of us are obviously public school teachers, so you can't really bring
Yeah,
you're not can't really bring that into your room too much, but I'm sure that just by your character it's brought into the room, whether it's mentioned or not. But it's nice to have FCA around for that thing,
for sure.
and then just that clinic in general, was brought, Megan Black with the National Guard. You had the National Guard mats there, which is another cool thing that people maybe don't know about. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about that. And then having Felicity there, and Felicity has such a cool story. And I've known her. I've sat in her corner. I'm not going to take any credit, which I always tell her.
You should take a little. You should
I'm
take
the
a little bit.
reason. I always tell her I'm the reason she's the national champion, because
Yeah, of course.
that one time I sat in her corner at the female elite wrestling tournament and stuff. So that's probably why she's where she's at today. But
I agree.
it was a good clinic. But how to if someone wanted to have a clinic and had the National Guard, how to hook them up with Megan, or or how did that all happen?
Yeah, so Megan's an area recruiter down here for National Guard in our area, and so she had come in and done some clinic stuff like over winter break and worked with us a couple of times that way. And then she's helping with William Penn, which is just 15, 20 minutes away. Um, and so I had texted her, see if she'd be interested in the clinic. She said yes. And I was like, well, I've seen that you guys have singlets. Do you guys have mats too? Because we could maybe use one or whatever. And she said, yeah, we have 3 that we could bring you. And so she pulled up the night before with a big trailer, and they had a little crew that helped unroll it, and we had a little crew that helped tape them all together, or stick them all together, and then same type of thing on the back end of it. They had a crew that helped roll them up and load them up, and we did our part too. And it was free to use the mats. It's just a matter of them being available. So yeah, I guess just reach out to whoever your local National Guard contact is and see what dates those are available. Check to see if the singlets are available. I know they like doing those for military appreciation night type things. So yeah,
I'll tell
pretty
you,
stiff resource for us.
for military appreciation night, and I might be giving this away, but it's all right. There's going to be a huge duel. I believe it's in Ankeny. And if you take preseason rankings, it's going to be number 1, 2A, number 2, 2A, and number 3, 2A. So it'll be Cedar Falls, Raccoon River, and Ankeny, and they're using the mats
That's pretty
from the
sweet.
Guard. So, and
Yeah,
having a appreciation night for that too. So yeah, pretty cool. Thought it kind of all works together there. This year you're part of the IWCOA group.
yeah.
What's how has that been? What are you doing on IWCOA? I think you took my old job, which is
Yeah.
an incredible accounting experience. So how are you handling all that hard work?
Yeah, I think it's been fun. It's been fun just to see, and anytime you can get a little peek behind the curtain or whatever, it's fun to see just how and why things work and get a little bit more understanding of it. And yeah, I'm doing the membership thing that you were in charge of, and just putting it all into a spreadsheet basically and totaling up who's in, who hasn't signed up yet, and all that. But and aside from that, just kind of hopping in wherever they say to work, I guess. But yeah, it's been fun. Just for me, it's just always people, like getting to know more people in the world of wrestling. That's the biggest benefit with any of it.
Yeah, and there's some really good people involved in the IWCOA. I enjoyed it. I just had a little bit too much on my plate, is why I stepped away from it. And then, Jeff Jagger took my spot up in Northwest Iowa. And man, that guy's got a lot more energy than I do, and he's very knowledgeable. So I felt really good. And then when you got the membership, I let you in on the secret of the
Yeah.
spreadsheet, auto sum. And I'll tell you
Yep.
what, it's amazing how much little bit of auto sum can impress people, and being
It
able
was
to
like,
fill a color in.
yeah,
I don't know if you still use my same process or not, but
a little bit different, but I was heavily inspired by your work. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
at
I'm
least I
making
feel
my
like
own, straight plagiarism, but yeah. Yeah. Good.
very good. I'm glad I've inspired, because it was a really tough spreadsheet to make and stuff. So it's probably is a little bit different this year, because now you got a 1A, a 2A. Schools are still, I mean, we added Cherokee last week to our
Oh,
thing,
really?
because they had
Yeah.
one girl that wanted to wrestle and they didn't feel like they could give her any experience. And I was like, I guess I'm already
I know.
2A, why not?
Yeah.
So I know that some of them are split, and different splits, and then some are combining, and so it's probably tough to keep track of all that. Yeah, so
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. We'll see, because it's supposed to be finalized here, the classes. So we'll see how it all, that'll make it a little bit easier to sort through.
yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about maybe our thoughts on that, but I wanted to get into kind of where I've gotten to know you a little bit more through AAU and stuff. So I think we'd always talked and a little bit, and you coached a couple years ago for sure at the Twin River Duels. And was that your first experience when we stayed after a little while talking to
Yeah, I
Catherine and
think so.
Jason?
This most recent one is my second time doing
Yeah.
it. So
Okay.
2 years ago was
Yeah.
my
So,
first time.
and we had, nice conversation, and Catherine and Jason were like, well, we got to get this guy involved, which ended up being perfect, because that year we also hosted the AAU Junior Olympics at the
Yeah.
Recplex, and
Yep.
you hopped right in there with Allie and I building teams, and
That was a lot
had
of
the
fun.
most successful Junior Olympics AAU had in 10 years, so that was
That's sweet.
pretty cool to to do that and stuff. So with that, and then you helped at AAU State, and kind of just jump in wherever you could. we found another opportunity for you to maybe sit in the corner and be the top national team coach at Twin River Duels this year. What was it like to coach that team? Because that was a heck of a team. And how did you end up finishing?
Yeah, that was a heck of a team. Yeah, we had just a who's who list of names on that roster, and then Abby McIntyre and I got a coach together, and I was like, I am like the least qualified person to be here, but I'll give it my best, and um, so it was just so much fun, and kind of as the tournament played out and the duels as you go through the bracket, they get tighter and tighter as they should, so the energy builds, and then you've got the other Iowa teams and Iowa supporters all gathering around and cheering loud. It got loud. It got a little rowdy, but it was a lot of fun. And yeah, we had the Oklahoma team in the finals. That was they were tough. They had some
Yeah,
really tough girls and gave us just about everything we could handle. But we ended up coming out on top. So my understanding is the first time that Iowa's won at least the Twin Rivers tournament there. So it was
that is
fun
the
to get to
first
be part
time
of that.
Iowa girls have won a national dual tournament, and that's Scholastic, and that's the two are the National Scholastic and Twin Rivers. So yeah, so
Yeah,
you'll be in AAU Iowa history forever now. So
that
pretty
was a lot of
awesome.
fun.
That was so much fun to watch, and I've kind of in that tournament I've kind of stepped away from the coaching, and more in the running and stuff,
Sure.
and yeah, we were definitely excited about that. That was great. And
Oh,
was
it's so much fun.
did Emily secure the win that finished, or was it
Not
Emily?
that
Okay.
Not that one, because that was the one match she lost on the day,
Okay.
to a girl that's actually, so she's from Oklahoma, but she's at Indian Hills, where my brother's the athletic trainer now. She's wrestling there, so we swayed her over to come to Iowa. I think is how that probably worked. She saw
She
how tough
was
we were.
the one that got the outstanding wrestler too, wasn't she?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, she was the outstanding wrestler. If that
Yes.
was a tight match, and Emily had a great match with her, if I remember right. But
She
that's
wrestled her tough, but
yeah.
yeah, kind of got her butt kicked a little bit. Like that girl
Well,
was just, she was something else. We
yeah.
learned a lot from that match, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what it's about too in that
Yeah.
postseason. It's probably motivated her a little bit to go through and where she's at now.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
good. That's real good. But with that, you also had the opportunity to go down to Florida with us this first time down there.
Yeah.
Um, what was your experience like in Florida? I mean, it was a different experience this year than I've ever had, but this is your first one, so kind of curious just to see what you'd say about it.
Yeah, I think kind of just the same, just getting to meet all the different people and all the girls from across the state, coaches from across the state. That's what I've enjoyed about kind of getting plugged into the AAU side of things with like Twin Rivers and those opportunities and AAU State and just hopping in and coaching kind of whoever needs somebody in their corner. And then getting to go to Florida was just that kind of on steroids, that you've got however many girls we ended up with down there, all filling up a hotel and uh, getting a lot of solid wrestling in and just seeing, for me, that was a good chance to see the scope of the growth of girls wrestling nationally, that it's not, we hear about it in Iowa all the time because it's just an insane level of
Yeah,
growth, but to see it kind of nationally and see in some cases see where we need to get to still and where that next step is. But yeah, it's just a really cool experience overall. And then I got to coach with Allie on that one, and so getting to pick her brain and kind of steal some of her energy and everything too was a really fun experience as
yeah.
well.
I coached with her the year prior, and
Yeah,
she is what 23 years old, and
yeah,
I'm ready to go in the nursing home almost now and stuff. And I'm just like I'm taking this from you, Allie. I'm so yeah. So
yeah,
she's that I do love that about the whole experience that we get to have together, because we do get to sit around and talk coaching and stuff, and
yep,
and then we do the clinic a couple clinics at Grandview, and that's fun because I gotta you know pick Danny Ellsbury's brain on leg riding. There's
yeah.
not much. I don't know if there's much better leg rider or to teach leg riding than Danny Ellsbury in the
He's solid.
state.
Yeah,
So and it was fun to watch your style and Allie's style and Danny's style and my style and everybody kind of doing their own thing, but it all kind of works out. And I'm sure those
yep.
girls find something at those practices that is going to
Oh,
benefit them.
it'd be hard for him not to, I think, with all you guys in there and Maylee jumping in and coaching a little bit as well as
Yeah.
she's rehabbing. And yeah, it was kind of it was just a great cast, I think, and great experience and good setup, and even getting over to St. Ambrose and having practices there before we took off and getting to
Yep.
see their facility. Yeah, just a lot of good coming out of that.
Yeah. And then, my favorite part of the trip, and I don't know if it was yours or not, but I could just live in that ocean all day long, and
Oh, that was so nice.
I tried my best to live in that ocean anytime I got a chance. So that was pretty cool. So, and you
So we
said,
met that taco place that was down there.
oh
That was
yeah,
yeah,
yes.
that was good. I think we went there 3 times on that trip.
I got there twice, but
Yeah.
that was a neat area. And we got to stay at the just so we knows we didn't stay in Fort Lauderdale. We stayed in Lauderdale by the sea, which I like Florida. I've had a blast. I've been there I think 6 times or so now. And man, that was just a cool experience. We stayed at probably not a 5-star hotel. I would probably guess it more of a 2 or 3, but it was nice. It
It was
wasn't,
nice.
yeah. But they had their own private beach, private pool. I didn't go in the pool. There's no reason to go in the pool when you have an
Yeah.
ocean.
No, I
You know,
agree.
it was pretty cool. And then walking distance, kind of like to a, I'm in the Omaha. I go to Omaha a lot, so like Old Market area or what's I like the old downtown Des
Yeah,
Moines.
kind of that same feel. Yep.
Yeah, they had some live music playing every once in a while and just neat shops. I bought a Hawaiian shirt from a lady that as I walked in the store, I was kind of looking at it and she actually like took it off the hanger, tried it on me, and I didn't have a choice. I guess I had to buy it and stuff.
Yeah.
So kind of a neat area. It was really fun. It was a different trip, but I definitely enjoyed it. It was definitely good. Um, I want to make sure I got my list here. I want to make sure I've covered as many things on here as I possibly can. And I think I have. So, and it's definitely a ways away from the end here, but I like to go through kind of a series of questions. And
Sure.
I'm gonna use similar ones with the girls just to kind of spark some different conversations and maybe get some opinion on you. And I'm gonna start with a different one that I use with the girls, but what do you and your family or just you do in your time off?
Um, no, like you said earlier, wrestling doesn't ever really stop. So there's a lot of that. But my wife and I started a thing when we were first married that we're trying to get to all the Major League Baseball stadiums.
Mhm.
And it's kind of just a cool launching point to tour the country that we'll go catch a game and then spend a few days in that city and kind of explore and eat our way around. And um, so that's kind of a fun thing. And then national parks are kind of the part B to that. If there's a national park within a couple hours, then we try to be sure to hit that as well. So that's kind of a
Because
fun
tonight
thing.
you're coming to us from Wrigley Field, is what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, that's I collect a lot of like baseball cards and memorabilia, and so I've tried to collect as many like authentic pieces of Wrigley. And then I saw somebody post online that they were turning part of their house into Wrigley. I was like, well, that's kind of a fun idea. We'll do that too.
Nice,
Yeah.
very nice. Didn't want to interrupt you, but and then and then I just remembered this, and this is the craziest thing. You might be the biggest Mountain Dew fan in the world.
Yeah, I got it right here. I'm never far away from it.
You tell them what Mountain Dew has all sent you because it's amazing. I mean,
Oh man. Yeah, so it's they send me flavors like right as they release sometimes, and I've gotten sweatshirts and socks, and I got a Grizzly cooler that's like the kind of the seafoam green Baja Blast color. And then they had an online thing that if you complete different tasks, you get points and you can cash them in for like Amazon cards, which is really like the reason I did it because it only takes a few seconds. And one of the tasks one day was submit your Mountain Dew dream. And so I submitted. That's when I was in Newton. I submitted that I wanted a uh, Mountain Dew vending machine that just dispensed only Mountain Dew flavors, all like the full rainbow of them. And they got back to me and said something along the lines of, everybody else is requesting like a full size pool filled with Mountain Dew. Yours is actually reasonable by comparison. They didn't want to pay the maintenance on a actual vending machine, so they gave me a full size fridge like you would see at like a gas station or Hy-Vee type place, and they fully stocked it. So it was like 420 bottles of Mountain Dew or something. So that's probably the biggest item that I got and got to share with all my teachers and everything. And then I had an account set up with the local bottling company to keep it restocked so people could stay hydrated and caffeinated and keep moving. So
nice.
yeah, it was fun.
That is crazy. That is really fun. And you kind of answered my next question because one of the questions I always ask the girls, if you're having vacation, would you go to the ocean or the mountains? And You go on vacation to all the
Fresh
ballparks.
dew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that?
Well, I would have to go to the mountain to harvest the fresh Mountain Dew, right?
That's
But yeah,
right.
otherwise the ballparks are a launching point for that. Yep.
That is pretty awesome. So if you were to, you're going to step back on, they figured out you had 1 year of eligibility left. And shoes are important to me. I am a shoe person. You probably noticed my shoe game is pretty good.
Yeah.
What brand of shoes are you going to put on?
I've been wearing a lot of Rudis. I like the look. I know some people complain about quality. I have enough that I don't wear them often enough because I cycle through them that I haven't ran into that issue. But I'm able to keep getting some different ones and rolling through them. But I think the first Snyders, the Caligas or whatever they were called, those were the most comfortable shoes straight out of the box that I think that I've ever got. So I'm still
Really?
partial to those ones. And the ones that I got were signed by Snyder in 2016 after he won his gold. So yeah, probably partial to those ones.
But we're some Rudis there. I also am a Rudis guy now and stuff. I'm a little older than you, so I'm more of the Sly Fox
Oh
brand,
yeah, yep,
and
yep.
they now release the all leather one. So I'll
Oh, I
probably
was
go
eyeing
ahead,
those. Yeah.
probably know what
Would
I'm
you go
getting
the
for
white or the
Christmas.
white or the black?
I would probably it's kind of a tough decision to make.
It is.
I don't know yet. I'll have to look more into the coloring wise, but yeah, I've always
Yeah.
been kind of a fun color shoe guy. Like in high school, I wrestled at Denison and I had purple singlets and I had red shoes, and I had blue shoes one time because I had the old. Well, they were Dan Gables, but then they did change them to the Dave Schultz. You know
Oh
the
yeah.
you know
Yep.
EVOs, I believe. The internationally they're called EVO
Yep.
and stuff. So I had the red and blue. I wore the red at Dana College because that's where I went to school, and it's no longer there. But so I was also a red and white guy, and
Yep.
then I had the blue Dan Gable Ultras, the one the true split sole with the big puffy back because that's how old I
Yeah.
am. So I always had red and blue shoes. So I don't know. So Mount Vernon, what color is Mount Vernon?
Maroon and white.
Maroon and white. So you weren't
Yeah.
too far off going to Pella then, were you? With the or going to
To
Central.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Central's a red and white. Yep.
Yeah. So it hurt me because I was purple and gold, and probably the guy that beat me the most was from a red and white school. So I had to put these red and white colors on. It was horrible. It was really rough. Um, so what's your favorite kind of music?
I listen to a lot of Christian rock and some Christian rap. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's a good way to just keep it clean too. So there's a lot of that makes the playlist in my PE class and in the wrestling room and everything now too. But
Yeah, because
it's up tempo. It's not like what you hear on a lot of Christian radio. I dig a little deeper to find something that's got a beat and some drums.
yeah, I think you might be too young to remember this, but my very first concert, we actually convinced our youth group people to take us to Striper
Oh
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
So that was a hair metal band in
yeah.
the mid
My
'80s.
dad my dad had Petra tapes,
There you
so
go.
kind of that same era, same
Yes.
same type of thing.
So again, if you had that one year of eligibility left and you're going out to win your national title in the earbuds in the or on the beats or whatever, what song is going to be on prior to going out on the mat?
Okay, so when I was competing, I was more into like something to get you pumped, and so I'd probably go. I think it's called "The Butcher" by Project 86, and then now though I like more being kind of more of an assassin mindset where everything's just calm and you're just ready to go. And so I'd get something more leveling. And so there's a song by Showbread that's called Matthias Replaces Judas. And they're like a screamo Christian band, but it's a
Okay.
song that they tone it down on a little bit. So probably depending on age when I'm competing, those are the two routes I go
Of course, if you're going to go win your national title this next year, it'd be at this age. So that
at this age. So it'd be
yeah.
Matthias Replaces Judas. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you might have to send me some of those. You'd mentioned because I had mentioned on an earlier podcast that it's tough to find a clean playlist. It truly
Yeah.
is.
It is. It is.
Even the ones that say clean are not always
Oh,
clean.
yeah, no, you're right about that. I've got a playlist that I think is up to like 20 hours long because I use it in the gym, I use it in the wrestling room, and so I've got to have it long enough that I don't hear the same songs
Oh
seven
yeah,
times a day, because I can't go crazy with it. So it's been a lot of work put into it.
that's is it on Spotify or
It is, yeah. Yeah.
You might have to share that playlist with me
I'll have
and
to send
stuff.
it to you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
awesome. That's important. Now, kind of along the same lines, I've been asking all the girls this, and I think it's you can see who almost all of them have said yes. Did you have a pre-match ritual, and what was that?
I did. Yeah. I jump rope was always just kind of what I don't know if it was our whole team or just what I took to. I know we always did jump rope and sprint stuff, like pre-meet practices, but that was always my, it doesn't take up very much room to get loose. And so I do whatever, a couple hundred skips on that, and then just kind of visualize through um, the kind of the first period or whatever of the match to kind of get things right there. And then say a prayer just for everybody to compete their best and be safe. And then I would always run out and do a couple of squats and jumps and then take center mat. So
So the squat and jump is the switch, flipping the switch part, you think, or is that
yeah, just get the legs activated, I guess. And I wasn't a big shooter, so I don't know what they're activating for. But
for the sprawl, man, for the sprawl?
yeah, I guess so. Or stand ups maybe, because
Yeah.
I knew the takedown was coming soon.
Yes. Oh, so yeah. So do you talk about pre-match ritual and flipping the switch or finding things like that as a coach, or is that
A little bit.
a little bit?
It's a lot of, I want the girls to find their own thing.
Yeah.
So I don't dictate what they do. I just say just find a routine that works for you. Make sure you're loose, make sure you get a good sweat, but then from there it's kind of up to you. Find what you need to do to be ready to go. And it might take a little bit of feeling out time to find exactly what it is, but it's got to be your thing. It can't be my thing because I'm not you.
Yeah, exactly. I just want them to have something. So most of them are such nice girls, and
Yeah.
and they need something to they gotta cross that line somewhere and not be nice girls, anymore
Yep.
and stuff. So that's definitely something that we work on mindset a lot. I'm sure you work on mindset. Every coach works on mindset a lot. So,
Yeah.
that's become a big deal. Coaching now from when you were in high school, here's a good question because you hear this all the time. Um, used to hear this a lot more often than I do now. I coach the girls exactly how I coach the boys. And to me, if you do that, you're giving the girls a huge disservice.
Yeah.
What do you think the differences are? Some of your, and you don't have to give away the magic Pella secrets or anything, but what are some of those things that maybe is different than when you were coached or that I started coaching boys too. I did it for 10 years before I
Yeah.
coached girls. So
We just place a lot of emphasis on relationships, and we really try. I don't know that we always succeed, but we really try as a full staff to make sure that everybody that steps into the room feels valued in some way, whether it's somebody to wrestle, a manager, administrator, or a coach and their girls from another town. That we try to make it just one big group that's all working together towards the same goal. And then we don't put any emphasis on winning. We say from day one until state placing matches, state finals, the goals are the same. We always say that first goal is to go out and wrestle hard. Second goal is to be coachable and apply the things that we've been working on in the room. Third goal is stay positive towards yourself. And the fourth goal is stay positive to the people around you. And then that's just what we ride with the whole
that's
season, the whole off season and everything. And we just try to make the focus on improvement. So I think that's helped a lot, kind of take some of the pressure off. The only time we really talk about winning is if we're talking about how a bracket works. Like if you
yeah.
win here, you're moving to this spot. If you lose, it drops here, but it's just an informative thing. It's not, we're not expecting the winning. We're expecting the effort and growth.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I think that's a good way to approach everything. We talk very similar things. I think a lot of the coaches are saying it that, you know, I came from the late 80s, early 90s wrestling, and it was let's break them to build them back up. Let's break them, break them, break them. I've probably been
Yeah.
called all kinds of names by coaches over the years and teammates and stuff, but I never do that anymore. Because I think I heard somewhere, be the coach you needed when you were in their spot and stuff.
Yeah.
So I try to stay like yourself, as positive as possible. And sometimes maybe to a fault, sometimes maybe we are, because then you talk to like Allie and man, she's kind of mean. you know, that nice little girl's kind of mean to her girl sometimes, but I don't know if I can get away with that. So yeah, that's something that the whole just different approaches to coaching. And that's part of like why I like being part of these groups too and talking to
For
people.
sure. Yeah.
When we talk about this, what's your approach with officials? Do you always talk to your officials before you at a duel, or do you always find the officials and talk to them?
I chat with them. I like to get to know them like like to get to know other people. But when it comes to a match, I rarely talk to them. I talk to our girls and our coaching staff that will hardly ever approach the table. Um, we just try to coach the angle that officials are humans. They're going to make mistakes. Calls are going to go against us. They're going to go in favor of us. It's all going to even out over the course of a season or career. Um, but what are we going to do in those moments to just overcome that mistake? Because they're going to happen. We can't dwell on them. We just got to keep moving forward and wrestle for the next best thing then. So we will approach the table if it's something like blatant, egregious, and especially
Mm-hmm.
if it has to do with safety.
Yep.
But I just don't see those calls don't get turned often
Nope.
enough
Nope.
to make it
Or
worthwhile
never.
to get a target on my back or a thought towards me from the officials. Like we don't need to do that. So we just teach go out and wrestle. If something happens, you just keep wrestling.
Yeah, I have a similar thing. If it's safety, I'm going to be at the table very
Yeah.
quickly, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, I don't want to be an official.
No,
I hate
no,
it. So
no.
I'm
He's
not
going to
gonna.
try to swing me, and I don't know about that. I don't think so.
Yeah, no, that's not my job. I'm not.
Yeah.
Definitely is not my job.
Well, I heard
Um,
you say when you had the WON ladies on
yeah,
that you don't even like officiating in the
no,
room wrestle
mm-mm,
off, and I don't either. And
no,
that's one thing. When I was in Newton, we did a public wrestle off one year where it was open to parents and everything, and I was officiating that, and I was so uncomfortable. And it's just all our guys that were
yeah.
wrestling there, and I did not like it.
I would have brought
But yeah,
somebody
even
in.
in the wrestling room, it's not for me. So
No, I don't want to make those calls, and so
no.
I probably give a lot of grace when it comes to officials.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
if I'll sometimes I'll talk to them after, or I'll one that I last year I was at a tournament. I won't even say where, who, or what happened, and I'll give him the first call that my girl she was outclassed. She was a newer wrestler and she was wrestling someone experienced and got pushed out, got called stalling, right? And then it happened again. So it was a point. And then the girl realized that that's all I got to do is push this girl around and I'm going to get stall points. Well,
Yeah.
pushing, stalling also,
True.
because
Yep.
if you're not actually working for something, if you're just pushing somebody out. So I waited till the match was over. She did not get stalled out of the match. And I
Yep.
talked to him and I said, "Hey, can we talk about that a little bit?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And I said, "Would you agree, on my assessment here and stuff, pushing and stalling?" "Well, yeah." I said, "Well, all that girl did was push. She never took one shot." "Well, she doesn't have to take a shot." And I said, "Now wait, are you sure? Are you sure that what you just said?" And he looked at me and he nodded his head. He's like, "Yeah, okay." And so next time, that's what I always look for. I'm not going to get that call reversed, like you said. When does that call ever get reversed? But I'll talk to him. So maybe the next week, or I had something happen at regionals and I talked to him nicely, and then the next week the call actually went my way. Same situation.
Yeah.
Same
Yep.
ref was the second ref on the mat, but they both were at that tournament and stuff. So
Yep.
yeah, that's a
Yep.
good approach. Here is the age old, not the age old, but the newer question with girls: freestyle or folk style?
Um, I think I like both. With girls, the folk style makes sense, but I don't know enough of it to be comfortable to do all the ins and outs and the finer tuning on some of that stuff. So we're fortunate that we have Central College here in town, and we kind of when I got down here, I kind of stole your ideas of where you partnered with BV, and we tried to partner with Central to kind of utilize those resources to get our
Yep.
girls good freestyle influences. And Grandview's not very far away. William Penn's not very far away, so we're in a good spot here. But I think freestyle is fun to watch on the international level for sure. And
Yeah.
then going like last Saturday and watching Jesse and Emily wrestle, and it's fun. I like the pace of that. But
Yeah. I personally don't feel that Iowa high school is ready to make that switch over. I don't think we have the
yeah,
coaching staffs that have the knowledge. I don't think we have the officials that have the knowledge to make that switch. So while we're on the subject of, Iowa high school, Iowa girls high school athletic union stuff.
Mhm.
What's your thoughts on two classes this year?
I think it's a little early, but I also think it's better to be early than late. And it's also tough to say because we've just grown at such an incredible rate the past however many years that maybe it isn't too early. Maybe we get into this season and we get the numbers of how many girls we have wrestling and everything, and maybe it's right on time. So I think maybe too early to tell. Feels a little bit early, but again, I'd rather be on this side of it than scrambling on the other side of it.
Yeah, will Pella be a 1A or 2A school?
We'll be 2A.
Maybe 2A.
Yep.
All right. So we'll
Yep.
we'll get a hangout at the state tournament at the same time. So I'll
You bet. You
be
bet.
down there. Um, things that you'd like to see maybe the girls union do, anything that's, that I wouldn't mind to seeing a third class, or I think we should go to 24, or I'd like to get it back to that 32. What's some things that you like or that you would
I
like to
think
see?
I think 32 seems like too many with the two classes where we are now. I could be convinced about 24, but I really don't mind the 16. I think state duels for the girls should be kind of the next target that we push for. And I know there's all the scheduling conflicts and all that, and but I think the girls union has also done a good job. So I think they have that stuff in mind too, that they're working that way and they're trying to accommodate all those things, and they are, or seemingly at least, they're listening to problems that are being presented to them and working on solutions. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're all headed the right direction, but I think state duels is the next thing I'd like to see.
Oh, I'd love to see that. I
Yeah.
think I wish I could have saw them maybe last year because I had a, but I mean, I'm not upset about my team either. I have a lot of
Right.
experience coming back. Maybe not the same type. We talked about that prior. We both
Yep.
lost some pretty big names, but it's kind of fun to see these other girls step up. How's the room been first week of practice?
It's been fun. So we officially started a middle school team last year with two paid coaches there, and having that has been, even just the 1 year we've had it, has been such a difference maker because we have so many of our girls coming in with experience, even just with the one season. Um, but we had, what do we have, seven in that freshman class, I think, and two or three of those wrestled at AAU state, and so they're getting experience outside of the school stuff even, and kind of buying in that way. So it just makes it a little bit easier. Our pace so far this season has been a lot quicker in terms of getting through technique, compared to before. That was one of the things that, when I was in Newton, it was guys and girls together, and we always had a Brennan Amos or Anthony Bistel or Colin Sharp, whatever, that had wrestled for a long time, and they were kind of coaches then too, right? You have their models that the brand new girls and the brand new guys could look at, what's Brennan doing? Okay, that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
And when we first started with just girls here, we didn't have that. So we had two girls that had wrestled before, so they were good resources in a similar way, but just not the same percentage of it. And so we're kind of getting to that point now, and it helps us go so much quicker. And we pair our experienced girls with our inexperienced ones, and it just seems to make everything just go a lot more smoothly. So
Yeah.
it's
Pella
been good.
there must be something in the water down there because you guys have been pretty successful sports
Have you seen
wise so
our
far this
sports?
year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been crazy. Yeah, it's what cross country girls took first, cross country boys took third, state volleyball they just took second, and then football just made the semifinals in the dome, so they'll finish top four. So all fall sports will finish in the top four.
I
It's pretty good.
we probably better have some. I don't know if there's any investigations or anything could go on down there. I'm not sure what's going on, but there's got to be something. That's impressive. Yeah, and the school's impressive. The area was that trip down there was my first time in Pella, and just a neat area. The school is beautiful. Downtown was really neat.
Yeah, did you hit the
Is it?
bakeries?
I hit the bakery, stood in line for a while. Is it the Danish knot? Is that what is that what they or what
The Dutch
or
letter. There's the Dutch letter there that's the
Dutch
S
letters?
shape.
Yes, yes, that's what it
Yeah,
was. The Dutch letters. That's I got a dozen Dutch letters to go home and
good
stuff.
choice.
So yeah, it was they're fantastic. Um, I always like to. We're right at an hour now, so that's usually enough time for me to say we've been talking long enough. But I always want to leave time for someone to have some final thoughts. I don't care what it's about; it doesn't have to be profound. But since you probably down in Pella, it's got to be it'll be profound and stuff.
I
So
don't know about that.
so why don't you give us the knowledge?
I think I've just been fortunate with a lot of good people surrounding me, from my parents to my coaches and teachers, um, and just all the people that have invested in me. And one thing that I took away from my time at Central, more than any of the classwork or anything, came from our chaplain, and he said, he would always say people before projects. And I think that's something that's just stuck with me, that we'd go down to Mexico and we'd be building houses, and we had a goal to get these things done for people. But he always made it a point that um, the people are more important than the house that we're building. We're building the house for the people, but the people are still the most important thing. So if a kid comes up and wants to play ball with you, you go play ball, and we'll keep putting the walls up. We'll keep putting the roof on. The work will get done, but people are always the most valuable thing. So that's one thing that I've tried to take away and apply to my teaching and coaching, and just all my different interactions, that it's okay to stop and chat and get to know somebody for a little bit. And it's okay if some of the work doesn't get done today, if it's for the sake of being there for somebody or getting to know somebody or doing something to brighten their day a little bit. So I think that's a philosophy that stuck with me, and hopefully one that I'm passing on to the next generation of people I'm interacting with, but just something that, that really sticks out.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for taking your time to talk to everybody. Hopefully a lot of people get to see this and see what good things are going down in Pella's girls wrestling room. I'm sure we'll see each other soon. We got,
Hope so.
we got stuff to accomplish this year, and and then we got our postseason. We'll hopefully do a lot of stuff together postseason again. So, no, it's been a
Sounds good.
fun ride the last year or so with you.
You
Good
too.
luck, and hopefully we see you soon.
Sounds good. Good luck to you guys too.